Welcome to Starfleet Universe On Call. I am Paul Franz, owner of Franz Games. I run SFB Online, FedCom Online, and Starfleet Warlord. Just a reminder how to join us. We have TalkCast every Thursday night starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can either call on the phone to 605-562-0444. The call ID is 17702. Or you can participate on the web and go to the TalkShoe website at www.talkshoe.com and search for call ID 17702, SFU On Call, or Starfleet Universe On Call. You should be able to find us there. But if you want the best online experience, what you want to do is you want to go to twitch.tv. That's twitch.tv/SFU On Call. And you'll be able to join us there and join the chat room and have a good old time. And of course, if you need to contact me for any reason, my email address is sfuoncall@gmail.com. That's sfuoncall@gmail.com. Also, you want to follow me on the Twitter/X/ whatever they changed it to this week. I'm not sure. You can go to the podcast account, which is SFU On Call. That's SFUONCALL. Also, my personal account is Paul Franz, PAULFRANZ. There's no T in that. And also, of course, there's the business account, which is Franz Games, FRANZGAMES. And of course, again, there's no T in that. And of course, the lovely TalkCast gets into the podcast available on iTunes and various other feeds around the net. Some quick news from A to B this week. Steve Petrick is still working hard on getting the Module K and Orion Master Starship book completed. Actually, he might have got them completed. I know that Steve Cole is still recovering from his surgery and also doing his physical therapy at home, which for him sucks, and he won't be really getting back to work for another 6 weeks. That's over a month. So at that point, when he gets changes to a cane, because currently he has to use a walker, that's when, actually no, he's not a walker. He's in a wheelchair. When he can move to a cane, then he'll be able to go into work, and he's just thrilled with that idea. And of course, this week found on the online store, we found the Prime Directed PD-20 Modern. This is for $24.95. Role-playing on the Final Frontier using the D20 Modern rules, which work better for science fiction than for the dungeon-based V3.5 rules. This major redesign of the original PD-20 V3.5, professionally edited, eliminating the many mistakes of the original dungeon-based version, and entirely re-edited for the modern rule set. New classes, new skills, new information. This book requires you to have the PD-20 Modern rules, which are available elsewhere. Moving onward and forward to the SFU Online tournament, we've got the final round. Round one it was completed. Round two is completed. So we have a semi-final round is set. So moving onward and forward, when it comes to the library report, we actually have some corrections from Matthew Potter. He corrected some of the Carnivons, and they've now been uploaded to the library. So if you've been playing with the Carnivons, especially in Frank's and Matt's campaign, you will definitely appreciate that. And there's been no updates for the FedCom library, but with that is the news for this week. And it's me, that's the one and all Paul Franz, welcoming you to Starfleet Universe On Call. And tonight, well, you got me, and you got Doug. Say hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
One quick thing before we start with the first topic for tonight. Possibly the only topic tonight, but let's start. That is, I forgot to mention this in the news portion, and that is I've recorded another YouTube video for SFU Online client. This one tells you how to play, or the really start playing the Starfleet Battles game in it. The one thing I apologize I forgot to mention, which is some of the etiquette when it comes to end of turn activities and how people usually do those, because basically when it's not part of the client to say, okay, now announce all your end of turn activities. you have to do that manually by just, you say, okay, ready, okay, everyone says, okay, we have no activities for Impulse 32. Then we ask, okay, then somebody asks, end of turn, i.e., do you have any end of turn activities? Then you do those, repairs, discharging of weapons, anything that's end of turn activities. PA panel things. That's another one. But and how to do those end of turn activities, and then you start the next turn. You start your next EA and so forth. Which actually, yeah, forget me. I was starting to think about retaining tractor beams over a break, over turn break, which is that gets really funky. But that's just easy.
Tractor auction time.
Right.
Yeah.
You start your EA for the next turn, and then you do your tractor auction. So how much power you actually put into your tractors? That's why you'd have to start.
Do you resist my tractor? Yeah.
And actually, tractors one thing
Words
we talk about.
people don't want to hear.
True. Very true. So, we're going to continue on with the Klingon Armada. I wanted to finish giving people an intro into it. I wanted to talk about some of the systems which I did not talk about last week. But you now have an idea of how to do movement and how to do combat in Klingon Armada, which it's basically Star Armada, and there actually is. Give me a sec. I forget if it's 3 or 4 modules. There are 3 modules. Yeah. There's Klingon Armada, Romulan Armada, and Alien Armada. So those are the different modules for Star Armada, and I definitely recommend getting the Unity edition, either that or the Admiralty edition. And no, this is Unity, because Admiralty edition, when it comes to Star Armada, it had issues with seeking weapons. The way that was implemented didn't quite work in my mind. Nova, I didn't really like the way that the shields were done. The shields were done differently. I really didn't like the way the Nova edition did it. Unity edition, I like the way they did it. The only thing that, of course, bothers me as being an SFB player is, of course, what I showed you last week, which is shielding. Shielding is much different when it comes to Star Armada versus SFB. Because SFB you have 6 shields. Star Armada you have 4. There are 6 sides to a hex. So makes things difficult. And as I show you that's chart and how it goes, to me it's kind of funky. I have to actually, I might want to talk to Daniel or at least look at the description, because I did not read through the description completely about what's the overall mechanism for figuring out what it is, because I think it's start like the first hex right in front of it, and then you go like 4, then you go up 1, and then you go out 4, then you probably go up 1, and then you go out 4. Direct angle out there. I want some confirmation on that. But anyhow, what we're going to talk about tonight when it comes to the Klingon Armada is, 1, seeking weapons. There's actually 2 kinds of seeking weapons, which, big surprise. I'm not gonna. There are fighters, but I'm not gonna I'm not. I don't plan on talking about fighters at all. Though obviously I kind of have to, per se, just for the plain simple fact, because of the seeking weapons. They use the fighter rules for things, but I'm just not going. That's the only reason I'm talking about even some of the movement and how things work for fighters, is because that's part of the seeking weapon rules, which is interesting because of overall when it comes to fighters in Star Armada. Yes, they're independent units, And they're independent units that can move any way that you want them to move because they're fighters. But they're fighters, in my mind, in the way of fighters are considered. I almost want to say, what comes to mind is Babylon 5. If you've ever watched Babylon 5, and how fighters are treated overall. But basically, they're like seeking weapons. Almost can think of them like hydrant fighters. Is the best way to describe them, at least the way they're described in Armada, which is they go to point blank range and attack the heavy ship. And as I said, I hadn't planned on talking about fighters, meaning I don't think they actually have a way of doing dogfights like with SFB. But I could be wrong on that. As I said, I did not read all the rules when it comes to the fighters, so I might be wrong about that. I don't think as many people are interested in fighters anyway, so I'm going to let that go. So, given that, let's move forward. And actually, I'm going to start with something other than a weapon. There's some kind of cool things here. Let me go to it first. Where is it? Da-da-da-da. Close. Da-da-da. There it is. Cloaking devices. Okay. Oh, you know what I did? I hit the wrong button. So you guys can't see where I scrolled to. So you should be able to see it now. And that is the cloaking device. I'm going to start with the cloaking device. A cloaking device, all you have to do is, there's no big surprise in Star Armada. There's no fade in or fade out. It's either you're cloaked or you're not cloaked. But, okay, obviously with cloaked, as it says here, the cloak marker is in the hex oriented pointing to the direction of the ship's heading, and then to remove the ship's model from the game board. I haven't checked if at SFB they changed that rule, which is basically you're doing hidden cloaking. So as long as the ship remains cloaked or undetected, its location remains unknown to the opposing side. Now, which is kind of cool. Hey, we all like hidden cloak, but so there's no fading. Just say I'm going to cloak. Now, the cloak, as you can see here, the cloaking device has no power requirement. So no power requirement, so you're good. But obviously, you can't launch anything at people. They can't fire at you. Plain and simple. And to uncloak, you just remove the C from recording, because you have to decide this when you're moving. Before as part of your movement announcement, you start the whole movement orders with a C. So then say, okay, I'm cloaking, or my ship is cloaked. Now, what I like is the detection. As it shows here, it says, at the start of the movement phase, before any starships are moved across the game board, you roll one die per cloaked ship. Now, if the result is less than the number of consecutive turns the ship has been cloaked, enemy sensors have pierced the cloak. This means ship is not at risk of this means a ship is not at risk of detection during the first turn under cloak. But afterwards, then if you roll, like if this is going to be your second turn in cloak, that means if I roll a 1, boom, you're detected. Then you place where the ship is in the hex containing the cloak marker. Well, place the model in, and move it according to all the orders recorded while it is undetected before then carrying out the ship's current movement order. So basically, you have to record all the orders, and then you share. Okay, this is where it is. Then move the cloak to the location. Any attacks by okay, a detected cloak ship may be attacked, though there is a -1 to hit penalty. So as I mentioned before, the to hit is this. The 3 plus. So in the case of this phaser, let's say phaser 1, 3 plus, that means if it's a -1 to hit, that means it's it has a 50% chance at short range 3 to hit. And the ship remains subject to all other restrictions, i.e., the cloak ship can't fire or launch anything. So, as I said, I like that for the simplicity of that rule. Unlike SFB, where you have all these all the details, which, if you're an engineer, you love the details. You thrive. Yeah.
Yeah. Mission creep.
Yeah.
Mission creep. That's what you have in SFB. Yeah, you have some simple rules, and then you've got mission creep. But that's a whole game design thing we've talked about in the past before.
Yeah, true, definitely. Because I know I have shown, I've gone through the original Starfleet Battles rules, and they definitely were more simplistic. They also had pre-plot. I'm pretty sure they had pre-plotted movement too. It was.
They had it, and it was an option to do it freestyle.
Right. It was interesting. The first original Starfleet Battles rules, having the drones and the plasmas those were launched were weird. Because you only could launch I think the plasma like at the end of the turn, and the drones at the beginning of the turn. It was I'd have
we
to
digress.
We digress, and I'd have to look
we digress.
Yes, I'd have to look them up. I'm gonna skip probes because I personally don't care about that much. Good. So craft. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about actually was tractor beams. Tractor beams can be used for basically attacking, seeking weapons, except for of course plasma. Plasma is not. Where is it? Give me a sec. It should be ranked here. Tractor beams. By the way, here's a minor modifications. Come to it. The ship that activates the cloaking of it is not removed from the board. Okay, so in SFB you don't remove from the board. That version. And active adds a +1 to energy, so it takes additional ship engine requirements. So SFB does give you the Star Armada for the Klingon Armada. Sorry, actually gives you a penalty for movement, unlike the one in Star Armada. When it activates, any plasma turbine previously launched continue to operate normally. Other seeking weapons go away. Big surprise. And when so that's explicitly stated, unlike Star Armada, which the seeking weapons would still continue on. When attacking a cloaked ship, apply a -2 penalty. This is in place of the standard -1 penalty to attack a cloaked. And a starship currently under cloak may not be tractor linked. A ship may not activate its cloaking device if it is already linked. So if they're tractored, they can't cloak. Tractor beams, again, it's another one of those modifications to Star Armada in that it requires power. And as I described last week, it's interesting how power was added to Star Armada. In that, okay, you got, in this case, this is a snipe frigate. It's got 4 engine, without any damage. And it's got an EPR of 1. So that if it used only 2, it'd have 2 PP, 2 power points available. But for larger ships, let's say like the Federation heavy cruiser, its EPR is 4. It might still have an engine rating of 4, which it does, but it has more boxes, engine boxes, like 4, 3, 2, 1. So it might, only be able to move 4 hexes, but it can have more power. So in the case of the heavy cruiser, if you have two points of engine unused, that means you got 2 times the 4. This is for the heavy cruiser, because the APR rating for a heavy cruiser is 4. That means you have 8 points, 8 power points. And with the 8 power points, then you can use like 1 power point to attack a seeker flight, and this will allow you to actually, it modifies the die roll to hit. Right. This describes it on page 22, but basically it gives it a -1 for the to hit. One for the seeking weapon to hit.
I just had a question.
Yes.
It just kind of popped into my head. I'm sorry about this in advance.
That's fine.
But if you're playing a Hydran cruiser and it's the right type, does that mean you're flying a PowerPoint concerned Ranger? Does that make it a PowerPoint Ranger?
Hey.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, dog. Oh, please no power. Oh. I had to deal with my children watching Power Rangers. That's all I got.
Well, in the army, we had a lot of people that we called PowerPoint Rangers. It's a common term in the military.
Oh, okay.
So.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry for all the engineers out there. I had to deconstruct the joke.
Okay. I'm gonna hit the anti-drones real quick because they're simple. And that is, for the number of ADD defenses that are undamaged, you get a -1 to attack to hit rolls for each attacking drone flight. So each drone flight that is coming in, you then get a -1. So not each drone flight, for each ADD ADRAC, anti-drone defenses system that you have on a ship, you can have a -1 on the to hit for that flight coming in, and I will talk about that right now. When it comes to seeking weapons, basically they're fighters. And what happens is, and I like the way they did plasma, which is kind of cool. I'll talk about that in a bit. First, let's just go through this. Okay, actually, let me do this. Don't mind me. I want to bring up. Oh, I must have fixed it. Okay, I fixed that one page. So let's go for this one. Does it have one? It has one drone rack. Okay, that's good enough. That will do. Okay. Now, as you can see here, this has a single drone rack. The drone rack has 2 drones in it, and it's a 1 plus, okay. Rate of fire is 1. What that means, it has 1 flight of seeking weapons. So, basically 1 flight. Let's keep it that way. It's explosive. The to hit is 2 plus. So when unlike direct fire, it actually, big surprise, it's a seeking weapon. It moves for the turn, and if it actually reaches the target, then it basically attacks. At that point, then you have to do a 2-hit roll for each flight that reaches its target, and you can do 2 plus. It's 2 plus, so that means you roll 2 through 6, and it hits. Impact is a one big surprise because it's automatic. It's 100%. But it does 3 points of damage for each drone. And that, of course, goes directly against the shield that it hits. And EXP means it's explosive. Something simple. Now, this is a seeking weapon. I looked at the rules. I don't... Okay. Oh, okay. I looked at the rules. There are no limitations on drones. At least I didn't see any when it comes to drones. Let me just give me a sec here. Actually, what I should do is I should look at the Klingon Armada ones. Okay, this is about the fighters. That's the fighters. Just wanted to double check here. Right. This is the standard ones from Star Armada here, which is basically there is no mention of that the seeking weapons die or they're limited when it comes to number of turns they actually exist. I don't see anything. I did not find anything in the rules, and that, trust me, I double checked and triple checked on that. And because my understanding is that you have that MA, which is movement allowance. They have that instead of range. So the movement allowance is the number of hexes it will move for one turn. So in the case of the drone, I'm not sure if you saw it, but the drone has a movement allowance of 6. So that's basically its speed. It moves 6 hexes per turn. And then when it reaches the target, as I said, it hits. And as mentioned here, it says when a seeker flight makes its attack, roll 1 die per seeker in the flight. And that's the number of seekers per flight is defined by this number, the rate of fire. And then so each die will exceed the weapon's AC. That number right here. This is the AC. It's right here. Accuracy. Once the seeker has resolved the attack, it is removed from the board. Okay. And they have anti-fire batteries, which we don't have in SFB. We only have ADRACs for that. This is fighters do not suffer casualties on attack die rolls of 1 when attacking seeker flights. Yeah. These are different weapon traits that have saving throws and so forth. We don't have to worry about that because that's not actually something that we have overall. Right. Okay. Movement. The can you stop that? For movement, it uses fighter movement. What fighter movement is? Excuse me. Kitty? No. I'm sorry. No. He's stepping on this little spongy thing here, which is actually holding my microphone up and making it so that you don't hear a buzzing. Because I have another computer on here which is causing a buzzing sound that will go directly right into the microphone. And the problem is if he steps on that, the microphone's going to go wee, and this might end the podcast real fast. Anyway, getting back to it. Okay, when it comes to fighters, what you do is you have the number of fighters per player, and then what happens is that each player will move their one unit and they'll go back and forth. You don't have to plan the movement of these weapons, but you trade back. You go moving back and forth. And in the case of it didn't. I don't think it mentioned it, but I would assume that when it comes to fighters and seeking weapons, that also holds true of the previous one when it comes to combat, which is that if, let's say, I have twice as many seeking weapons than you do, I get to move 2 when you move 1. And also it mentions that the person with the most number of seeking weapons basically moves first. Big surprise, but you do that, and as it mentions here, that the cost of each hex for forward movement on the location that the fight's target at the time it activates. If the target is in flight's A or B arc, then each hex cost is 1, basically forward arc. If the flight's target is in CD arc, as in kind of side arcs, it then is 2 MA, 2 movement allowances. So in the case of a drone, it can only move 3 hexes. If the ship is kind of to the side of it instead of in front of it. If it costs 3, which is EF, which is basically that the target is behind the seeking weapon, which is going basically it's going the opposite direction. That costs 3 MA per hex. So in the case of a drone could only move 2 hexes. So, and as I mentioned here, the seeker flight must move forward unless moving forward will not decrease the range to the target, in which case the flight must perform a 1 hex side turn towards the target. Seekers do not sidestep. That's interesting. The control plane must still determine whether a turn towards the target is necessary, even if the flight does not have enough MA to conduct another forward move. So, watch recovery. That's always fun. Okay, it was here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now, the adjustments, each hex forward movement is 1 MA regardless of the location, stick, or flight target. So in the case of drones, it's 1 MA, period. If a seeker flight turns more than 1 hex side without moving forward, each additional turn requires 1 MA. And so I shall receive the same saving throw as shuttlecraft. When it comes to, because you actually can use suicide shuttles, which is interesting. I noticed that, but I did not read up on suicide shuttles. So obviously, Star Armada also has suicide shuttles, which are known. And this is talks about here about the diamonds and so forth, which is the number of drones. Reloading is interesting because it's during damage allocation and you have to roll a die. Again, that's weird, but okay, whatever. Obviously, for that only will occur for longer combats because most of the time, most of my combats, I rarely have a chance to reload myself. Of course, I don't play that many times with drones. Usually, it's plasmas is the seeking weapon of choice I usually use. So, okay, if a seeker flight turns more than 1 hex side without moving forward, okay, so what that means is that it can turn like 2 hex sides, but so it's going to cost an additional movement point, a movement allowance. Which, hey, that makes it a little bit easier. So obviously, drones are a little more dangerous in Klingon Armada versus Star Armada in that movement allowance is less. So it actually can move faster than a normal Armada drone. Now, the one thing I want to obviously talk about is plasma torpedoes. Now, this is kind of neat. Okay, this describes plasma torpedoes, which we all know about. Which basically plasma balls of energy created in a heavily reinforced chamber, then the target on an enemy ship. Boom! Okay. And talks about different things. Okay, plasma torpedoes may only attacked by phasers, so you actually can fire phasers at plasma torpedoes. Hits scored on a plasma torpedo do not reduce the size of the flight. Instead, place a small die next to the torpedo indicating the number it's scored. When the torpedo impacts the target, reduce the number of damage dice rolled by the number shown on the die. Okay, examples: our torpedo, damage of 4. With 2 seekers remains impacts target. Remaining, okay. 2 to hit the rods are rolled, okay. Coming up with a 3 and a 6, indicating 2 hits. Normally this would be 8 damage or inflict. However, the T-Bar suffered 3 hits en route, therefore it's only 5 points of damage. So, explain that pretty quick. Now, this is one of those things, again, which I like about Star Armada and the simplification that it has done to the SFB, not rules, but the implementation of the SFB, the way it make it feel like SFB, but using the Star Armada game engine. And that is what's called a weapons trait of evaporating. Again, as I mentioned, if you're a person who really likes, sorry, I'm sidetracked here, chasing those rabbits, really likes to design your own ships, likes to design your own weapons, Star Armada is a great game engine. Absolutely fantastic. It's got all kinds of weapon traits you can have. Your ships can have all kinds of things, from screens, which is what our shields are, to shields, which I'm trying to, it's basically, they're not like shields, which basically you damage the shield and then finally you poke through. Shields try to protect the ship, but depending upon the weapon actually can penetrate the shield and then finally actually do damage to the ship. So that's what shields are.
Like damage reduction.
No, not really. There will be 2 different numbers. Because you roll for impact. So the question is, does it actually get through the shield? Then after the shield, then you roll for how much. Then you do the damage. So either it can get through or cannot get through when it comes to Star Armada shield itself. So it's again, it's kind of neat that those are just 2 examples. There's plenty of examples. As I said, if you really are interested in creating your own sci-fi ships, Star Armada is a great engine to use. And if you want to, go to the Discord server. Daniel's always available. He's always more than happy to answer questions that you have. And of course, there's a nice community there too, to answer any questions that you have. The forum is back up and running. He brought it back up, and actually, I have not checked, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty active. Because there's some people that don't like Discord. They're old fuddy-duddies. Hi. That's like, we don't need this stinking fancy new Discord kind of stuff. I was on the web when the web sucked.
Yeah, you kids and your new Discord things. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those fancy kids and their interwebs.
Exactly. Okay, back to this. Sorry. Evaporating. Okay, evaporating weapons are seeking weapons that start out very powerful, and then each time the Viper seek plate ends its activation without impacting the target. So in other words, its movement without actually hitting it. you remove one seeker from the flight. So in the case of this one, where you got the G torpedo, it's got 3 seekers in the flight. Now, not really, they're actually considered one weapon, but the way, because we know plasma is just one weapon. But basically, G torpedo starts out with 3 seekers. So that means it can go 3 turns without hitting the target before it dies. And also, as it gets weaker and weaker, because you start out with, on the first turn, if you hit it, because actually its movement allowance is 8 versus 6, like a drone, so it's faster. It can hit it. It'll have three attack dice. If it on the second turn, then it's only gonna have 2 attack dice. Third turn, it's only gonna have 1 attack dice, and that is, to me, is great. It's awesome because it simplifies the reduction of damage over time, and makes it very simplistic. You don't have to count how many hexes were it. Now, the one thing it does mention in the rules, which is you must use up the movement allocation. You cannot save it for the next turn, i.e., if you have a plasma torpedoes and it doesn't use all 8 movement allocation allowances, it has to. If it can, it must do it. So it's not like you can say, "Oh, I'm only going to move it 4 this turn. I'm going to save it up for next turn," so that you have movement 4, then movement 12. No. You have to move 8 and then move 8. Or the only thing that can have the amount of movement allowance not completely used is if it hits a target. Hit the target. That's the only way you're allowed to not use up the movement allowance. Now, that would be weird if it actually required you to use up the movement allowance, period. So, but it doesn't. So, it makes perfect and honest sense. Oh, by the way, one thing, I made a mistake last week, and I apologize. I missed this. So again, I apologize. Phasers, at least phaser 1s, if you notice here, 1 PP. That means to fire a phaser costs 1 power point. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last week, and of course, plasma torpedoes here, which is interesting. The G torpedo costs 1 power point, either a torpedo or a bolt. Obviously, it's a where is it? It doesn't mention it, but this is a dual weapon system. That's one thing it's mentioned in the Armada rules, that it has 2 modes of operation. Start for the battles. That means you can bolt it and basically treat it as a direct fire weapon, and here it is. But again, I forget what DFS stands for when it comes to traits. But it's slow. It has 2 slows, which means no matter what, it requires 3 turns before you can fire. You can launch a torpedo again. Now, that's one thing I did not check on, and obviously this requires 1 power point, but I think the 1 power point is to fire it or launch it. Doesn't require you. Okay, I'm just gonna double check, see if no, I don't know. I just want to check here because okay. Right. Yeah, that's one. Obviously, you can do, like, if you want to have power to fire your heavy weapons, you might want to take your phasers offline, which is a neat option. In order to gain additional power, Starship may take its phasers offline. I'm not sure if I remembered this. I mentioned this last week. I'm just going to mention it again this week. If I did, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. If not, here it is. Okay, you mark it and then writing NP means no phasers. When you do that, taking all phasers offline has two effects. One, obviously you don't have phasers that round, that turn. The starship received one additional power point for each operational phaser 1 or phaser 2. Those equipped with receiving with operational phaser 4s get 2 power points. And of course, as I mentioned, you can't use in combat. But that might allow you to actually fire your heavy weapons. In the case, basically you can move faster and fire your heavy weapons, but you won't be able to fire your phasers, which in some cases would be advantageous, to get the additional power. And see if it mentioned it here at all. I don't. Okay, this is getting to scenarios. That's not what I want to talk about. Sorry, I want to check one thing because I didn't notice it last week, and my assumption is that it is this case. Right. Okay. It requires. Okay. So my assumption, because I don't see it mentioned explicitly, then, is that the one PowerPoint is required on firing or launching the weapon, and not like when it comes to photons or plasmas, where you actually have in SFB are required to have not PowerPoints, but energy going into the system over all 3 turns. So my assumption is that it simplified and said, no, we didn't need it for the time you launch it, which in this case, this kind of makes sense. To me, it's kind of weird in that a plasma F requires 2 power points to fire. A G, which is more powerful, requires 1. You got me. And of course this has a rate of fire of 2. I mean the plasma F, and G has a rate of fire of 3. Big surprise, because it's more powerful. Again, they're both double slows, which means that it takes 3 turns to reload. Yeah, right here, we're talking about dual mode weapons. With this option, a player can design a weapon that has switched between modes. For example, a powerful anti-ship weapon can be switched to a weaker but more accurate anti-fighter mode and back again through the course of the battle. And it's talking about an ion cannon battery, which we don't have ion cannon batteries. Okay. And just want to see if there's anything else that I want to talk about. I really want to talk about fighters. Okay, that's that. Do I want to talk about? Oh, did I talk about tractor beams? I did. I mentioned it briefly. I did not go into much depth when it comes to tractor beams, and I feel like I really should. Don't mind me. Where is it? I started with cloaking device. There's probes, screens. Okay, tractor beams. Okay, yeah. I think I mentioned that they right. Defensive fire, unlike standard weapons, tractor beams can be used to defend against attack in the fighter phase. Whenever a fighter flight declares attack, the target may be cleared and use one or more tractor beams defensively. Defensive fire result above, except that it's scored only on each roll of a 6. Any damage inflicted is applied to the fighter flight resolve its attack. So up here, okay, tractor beam attacks are made at the same time as starship. Other attacks, tractor beams may attack any tiny target on adjacent hex, i.e., fighters or seeking weapons. They're both tiny targets. To resolve a tractor beam attack, roll one die. And the result, a 5 or 6, one hit scored on the target. No modifiers applied. I give them might have multiple can have each beam may be used to attack a different target. So there is I did read about, and I want to talk about it, which is tractor beams for us. Here it is. I think I did mention this. The big thing. Okay, no, I didn't talk about this much. The tractor beams. They cost 1 power point for use of a tractor beam to attack a seeking flight. Okay, so, as I just described previously. Obviously, plasma can't be attacked. In addition, upper normal tractor beams can maybe used to link other starships in the same or adjacent hex to tow that ship. Tractor links are attempted at the end of the phase, which is basically the end of the turn. Each side should roll one die. The side with the higher roll declares any tractor links first, followed by the opposing side. So that's gonna be one of those weird things where you go, okay, anyone have tractor using tractors? And you go, yeah, whatever, okay. If that's the case, then you roll the die roll. Starships may automatically tractor friendly units by paying the 1 power point. Okay. The ship may declare it intended to tractor, paying one power point. Here it is. The opposing ship may either accept the link or pay the 1 power point to cancel the link. The tractoring ship may then spend another power point to retain the link, at which point the tractoring ship may spend another power point. Continue this manner until either ship is unable or unwilling to spend the power point. A tractor auction. Tractor links must be renewed at the end each end phase. So basically, when you attach the tractor at the end of, let's say, turn 1, that ship is tractored all the way through turn 2, and then you do another tractor auction at the end of turn 2. Now, this is one. Daniel went, I give up, or at the very least simplified, which is you cannot tractor more than one ship. Multi-ship tractoring, they ain't doing nothing about that. Anybody who's actually ever dealt with that with SFB is basically, it is complicated. In fact, I'm pretty sure someone mentioned that when it comes to the client doesn't handle it properly. It's not an easy thing to do. It really is not. Look at the rules. It's not easy. Because I tried to implement the rules so they make there's certain. That's the whole idea of the SFU online client, is to help certain rules, to implement certain rules to help you play by the rules. It doesn't require you to play by the rules, but it helps you play by the rules. Now, get back to this. The effect of tractor link is to force one starship to follow the movement orders of another starship during the subsequent movement phase. However, it is an open question which ship takes precedent. Both ships record movement orders. Once the orders are revealed, determine how much power was used by each ship for movement by multiplying its engine's requirement by its EPR. I.e., since the EPR, if you really looked at it, the EPR defines how a larger ship has a larger EPR rating than a smaller ship. A smaller ship has a lower EPR rating. That's why you see for this frigate, it's got an EPR rating of 1. As I mentioned earlier, the Federation heavy cruiser, that's for those in SFB terms, a size class 3 ship versus a size class like 4 ship, maybe 5. It's been a while. But basically, it's a larger ship. Its EPR rating is higher. It's got an EPR rating of 4 versus this frigate EPR rating being an EPR rating of 1. Oh, that's true. Now, so basically, this is how so that if you are a smaller ship and you try to tractor a larger ship, you're going to get your butt dragged around. If you are a larger ship tractoring a smaller ship, you're going to drag that little ship around. The ship with the higher product follows its movement orders, while the other ship is moved along with it. So in other words, you ignore its orders and you just follow the orders of that other ship, keeping its relative position and facing. If both ships have the same product, the effect is the wash and neither ship moves. So with, obviously for people at SFB, that is weird. In that, unlike SFB, where in SFB you actually have you see as part of the turn the struggle, because a smaller ship can actually move a larger ship. It can affect its movement. Yeah, you're dragged along, but you can kind of push it, push it here, possibly drag it back, push it out the other way. You can do certain things to affect the movement of the ship that's dragging you. Star Armada, nope. Either you're dragged along, or you're dragging someone along, or you guys just don't move. You sit still.
Wow.
Now, I was just thinking about this, and of course, here's the interesting part, people. Here's the interesting part. You could actually tractor someone on turn, let's say turn 1. Let's just say turn 1, makes these simple. You can track them so because it's at the end phase. Now, you don't have to have that tractor allocated for on turn 2. You can not allocate. You can have no power points available for you at all at the next turn. And given that, you can actually, if you just say, okay, I tracted you on turn 1, and then turn 2, I'm going to put everything to moving. I'm not going to put anything towards tractor, but I'm going to just move your butt around for the next turn. Then it's possible for a smaller ship to actually actually move around a larger ship, because if the larger ship doesn't move, in other words, it doesn't expend that much movement, then the smaller ship might be able to actually move the larger ship, because the smaller ship, its EPR, it has, in the case of frigate, it's got 4. If the larger ship says, I'm not going to move, i.e. it uses 0 movement, then the frigate is going to move that larger ship 4 hexes. Now, of course, the issue is that larger ship, it's got a lot of power. So if it doesn't use it for movement, it's got power for doing other things, including, if it wants to, it can track to the frigate for the next turn. Because the frigate will have no power points whatsoever to expend. Unless, of course, it decides to say no phasers, in which case it has a few points. In this case, it would have like 2 power points. But it had no chance against a larger ship with an EPR rating of 4. So I think that's neat. And again, if you read through these rules and read through how Star Armada simplifies things, it's really quite neat about how they did it. And actually, where is it? Okay, do we have it in here? Yeah, they have probes here, they have Marines, and they have shuttlecraft, which I haven't gone through. I have not read through, so here's what I wanted to tell you about reloads. A damage control die that comes up with 6 may be used to reload a drone rack. A starship may only reload 1 drone rack per end phase. A ship does not have to wait until a rack is completely empty to reload it. This is like Federation Commander. However, reloading a partially empty drone can only restore it to its original 2 or 4 shot capacity. A rack cannot be reloaded in the same game turn in which either fired or, in the case of the Federation, acted as a ADD. And a damaged drone rack that has been repaired through normal damage control is considered empty. Big surprise. It must be reloaded before use, and a drone rack cannot be reloaded on the same game turn that it was repaired. Which actually brings up a good question. When are repairs? Oh, I thought that was it. There it is. Here it is. End phase. Okay, that's when you deploy mines, apply gravitational, apply effects. Okay, so repairs. Movement. Battle phase, combat phase. Oh, perform damage control. There it is. At the end phase. Okay, I'm just looking at this real quick. Which is... Okay. Okay, I was looking place seeker flights for C4. I have to look at that. My assumption is that you would announce that during the combat phase, that you're firing, and then at the end, and then during combat, you actually place the seeker flights on the board. That's what that is. Yeah, because the launching of the shuttlecraft and the fighter flights is at the end phase. Actually, it's the last step of the end phase. It's interesting by itself. I think we'll end when it comes to the Klingon Armada. There, if you guys want me to hit on or possibly even do a demo game, please tell me, because I'll be happy to have a demo game on Klingon Armada or Romulan Armada. Actually, that's one. Actually, let me do that real quick. Don't mind me. Which is, I want to see if, what I want to see is some of the weapons. And that is, yeah. Okay, let's look at Saltorian and its particle cannons is, again, 5, 10, 15. That's one thing when it comes to Star Armada. The normal ranges are 5, 10, 15 when it comes to heavy weapons, and overloads go out to range 10. So that's the way things work when it comes to Star Armada. Obviously, particle cannon sucks. It's got a one-third chance of hitting at standard range of between 6 to 10. It's got, and then if you have a short range within range 5, then it actually has a 50% chance of hitting. Which, if I recall correctly, let me just do. me. That and then back to that. Because what I wanted to look at was... I wanted to look at the photons. I wanted to compare it against photons. Photons, 4, 8, 12, which is interesting. It's got a 50% chance out to between range 5 and range 8, and a 2/3 chance, 66% chance, 67% chance, to hit at close range. So, to say the very least, it sucks dirt when it comes to the Centaurians. It's much worse. I personally don't think that's right, because I have to double check on this, but I'm pretty sure that the particle cannons pretty much follow the hit of the photon torpedoes. That's all. Only reason why I say it sucks. Okay, I forget if the alien one have. Remind me, I'm trying to go through it quick. Okay, there's some. It's got some generic ones. Actually, let me do this. Look at the front of this. No, okay. I was hoping. Sorry. What I was looking for was hydrants. I thought the alien one had hydrants, but it does not. Because I was going to wonder about the Hellbore. That's the main one I was going to wonder about, because fusion, relatively simple to implement. Obviously, overloads are going to be slow, and my question is, will they implement or represent suicide overloads for the hydrants? Because that one, normally you have more damage, you have double the damage than you have normal, but also you destroy the weapon, which would be interesting to actually implement, because you might have to add another trait, which is self-destruct weapon. The whole idea of when you use the weapon, it blows up. It destroys itself. Obviously, when it comes to the hydrogen suicide shuttle, it's not suicide shuttle, suicide fusion overload, suicide overload for a fusion. The one thing about that is that in addition to it destroying the weapon, it also does internals to the ship that's using it. Which is most people are like, why would you ever do that? But of course, the reason why you do that is because of you can actually double the amount of damage that you output to your opponent. Now, if you think about it, it's a self-inflicted wound. You're getting more damage against your opponent, but you're also increasing the amount of damage that's being done to you. So in theory, I was just saying,
it's supposed to be a game ender.
Right.
It's supposed to be a final blow kind of thing, not something you just do to do it in the beginning.
Oh, agreed.
You only do it if you think it's gonna be the thing that finishes the fight in your favor, kind of thing. So.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, the final coup de grace.
And it's also it's pretty much unique to the hydrants.
Yeah. That's why I said
to that particular weapon system.
Right. Oh, agreed. Though the Orions could do that, but the Orions I don't think would ever suicide overload fusion.
I'm sure they would, if it's going to be a game ender in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Taking down a cruiser, with a light cruiser or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're praying that.
I never say never in SFB, because there's always going to be somebody that says, "Well, here's how it works." This is a game. SFB is a game made for people to do that sort of thing with. even if it wasn't intended to be that way.
Right.
Because the gamers, there was always going to be that guy, and if that guy isn't there, somebody will take the mantle up for him.
Yeah,
So,
but here's the thing. Now,
hmm.
okay, guys, just a reminder: this is a game. This is not real life. But,
No.
but here's the thing.
Heresy.
If you think about it, if you're a captain, you're physically a captain on this ship. There is the possibility. There is a possibility with a suicide overload that you're killing yourself because it's random internals. Random internals means that you could destroy the bridge
Oh yeah, yeah.
where you're sitting.
It's not a safe thing.
Which is
it definitely is not a safe thing, and if you notice, like I said, it's pretty much unique to the Hydran one weapon system.
oh
So it's not like it's an everyday thing for everybody in the game.
oh agreed. But at the same time, you have to, as a captain, that's one thing that would be part of your mind. Are you willing to die to destroy your opponent and therefore possibly save your empire? That my friend, is why I don't think Orion would do that.
Oh, well, to a degree. I mean, the flip side of that is, why are you in that fight as the Orion? And does it get to the objective that you're trying to do?
True.
I mean, do you want your ship to be captured, or are you willing to to take that risk?
True.
I mean, or if it could be the difference to saving your ship,
Mm-hmm.
because you finish off the other guy, even if it is at risk of your part of the ship getting hurt randomly. So there is that. I mean, that's the flip side of the flip side of the flip side there.
Understood.
And I'm sure we could go on and on about that.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all situational.
Oh, agreed. And just to wrap up the discussion about Klingon Armada
Oh my.
and
Oh
start.
my. Wow.
What's that?
Mid-grade savior Epsilon blueprint just dropped.
Oh, okay. Eve.
Oh my.
Okay. Well, hold on to that. We can discuss it after the podcast. Let's just wrap, dude. Let me just wrap this up, and we'll call it evening, and we can talk. Okay. So just dude. Hold your wad. Hold your wad, please. Now, the one thing I just want to mention real quick when it comes to Star Armada, as you notice, Klingon Armada modifies the Star Armada rules a little bit, and that's fine because the idea is to make it so it's more it has the feeling, it plays like SFB when it comes to overall how the ships fly and so forth. Obviously, things are going to be a little different. Again, big surprise: the shields, which are screens. How damage allocation is done different. Yeah, that's the game engine. You have science, which I think that might. I gotta check to see if Daniel added that to the actual core rulebook or not. But anyhow, certain things were removed. As I mentioned, certain things which I thought were kind of cool, i.e., Daniel actually has a way, because of you use pre-plotted movement, you have a way to simplify, because you're already doing pre-plotted movement, you can do actual off-board cloaking. Because everyone's already pre-plotting their movement anyway, so no issue, because after he becomes uncloaked or gets found out, you just go here's my movement orders, just reveal them, and then they go bum 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 bum. You go through them, and he end up okay. This is where he is. The one thing that I read, I'm not sure if I mentioned to you guys last week, which was an interesting about the Star Armada, and when it comes to movement, and that of course it uses Newtonian physics, unlike SFB. Fine, no problem. There's one characteristic you can do in Star Armada, which I thought was just weird, which is in movement. One thing you can do is at the very end of movement, you can do what's called a pivot. So what you can do is if you're moving this way, moving straight ahead, you can go, I'm going to move, then I'm going to pivot twice. Toom, toom. So weapons that previously were not an arc, if you're being chased by your opponent for that turn, you can go, oh, ching, ching, ching. Turn your weapons to face him. What happens at the end of the end phase? It goes, okay, boop, pops back to where position you were, and then you continue to move forward. So it's not like you do a pivot and then you're moving. You're still moving that way, but you're facing the wrong direction. Your direction of movement is not the same direction of the ship is facing. Mm-hmm. No, Star Armada goes like you can do a pivot and then it just pops you back to the direction that you're actually moving. Which to me is like, it's kind of cool way of resolving the issue if you have weapons that only fire forward. Have so you actually can fire at someone behind you. But, I'm not quite sure how realistic that is. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that before we sign off for tonight. Doug, I would say you have anything to announce, but of course, gamers.
Oh yeah, actually.
Game summer's over, but we do have Gamers of Winter coming up on President's Day.
Yep, next February we'll be at the same venue. I will open up registration after I have the contract completely done and everything. Mm-hmm. So I just have a few questions for the venue, but yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll be at the same place. Y'all want to come out and do some SFB? There's that. If you want to see something actually done and have some fun with actual people on a big table, we've got plenty of big tables there.
We'll come and play some Klingon Armada or Romulan Armada. Hey, come on, let's go. And hopefully,
or Bed Commander, or if you happen to be listening to Paul and you happen to like Federation and Empire, you could probably do a good game of that too. Keep it set up the whole weekend.
I don't know Federation and Empire, but if you know it and you have a friend, bring them on.
To teach it to you, it's super easy to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Also, I do have cards for Starfleet Battle Force, so if you want to play that game, I also have that game with me, and I'd be happy to play it. It's a simple game, and and if you like the game, if you're one of those people that's like me, who's a tactics board game person, Starfleet Battle Force doesn't interest you that much. As I said, I'd love to play some Klingon Armada. This year I screwed up. And that is, I was going to print out both, for the demo, both the Federation Heavy Cruiser and the Klingon D7. Problem. My printer ran out of ink. So what did I do? I printed out 2 copies of the Federation Heavy Cruiser. Unfortunately, I got to play some myself, to the very least, to practice, to work through the rules. And I said I actually understand how they work and so forth. And Lord knows, I would love to demo with someone who's come out and wants to play against me. I'd be happy to teach you. Obviously, the intro I gave you now gives you a good idea of overall the rules. Obviously, as I mentioned, that if you want me actually to do a live, I can do a recorded demo. I could possibly do one. I can do that as a podcast. I can do that. Obviously, the top part about those is, of course, this is an audio only media. I do videos, do post it to YouTube. And if people want those, as I mentioned on some podcasts, that's where you actually want to watch this podcast versus listen to it. For example, obviously, the one I did, which just like 3 episodes ago, which where I went through my game playing the Satorian versus the Federation. That's one of those ones that you really should bring up on YouTube and watch it, because then you get to see where the ships were moving, the EA, everything was actually posted there. I only can communicate so much a part of the game, using audio. That's some of that stuff is really video oriented. So that's the case. Obviously, if somebody wants, please post it up on YouTube. Send me an email at sfuoncall@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to do it. Okay, so Doug. All right, I'm pretty sure I said already. Oh, good night to you. I forgot to do that.
I'll be here if you want to chat for a few minutes when we're done.
Yep.
When you're done.
Yep. So. I'd be happy to. And obviously had a nice talk about Klingon Armada. Get through most of what's there. Obviously, I didn't go through probes. Didn't go through shuttles. Didn't go through fighters. The fighters, they're pretty much, as I said, they're pretty much seeking weapons, is what they are. They attack. They don't. The fighters, at least as described in Armada, aren't like the fighters of SFB with other drones and seeking weapons that they can launch. Then, no, it's more like it's a hydrogen fighter where it's just direct fire weapons. But anyway. With that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.